Nigel Cecil, calling things out as you like it, especially for his fair-minded friends.
Hello, Chakabatis, Nigel Cecil here, but there again, you already know that, don't you, my regular viewers? Entertainment entrepreneur, welcoming you to my YouTube channel, and Hilary invariably always reminds me, well, hello Hilary, that whenever I mention entertainment entrepreneur, I have to qualify it by saying somewhat of a legend in my own lunchtime. Now, regular viewers will know that this video is in response to comments received from my fair-minded and equitable friends following two statements published by Equity, the trade union for professional actors, variety entertainers and other creatives across the United Kingdom. Two statements. The first one in October relating to recent events in Israel and Palestine, and the second one calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Now, those two statements were apparently published on behalf of 47,000 members without actually asking those 47,000 members of Equity what they thought. And my fair-minded equitable friends wanted to make some comments, but they are of an opinion that a group is currently running Equity to their own personal agenda, which one that is so focused on what they want to achieve, they feel they can self-affirm and self-justify what they are doing on behalf of all the membership. Even so, that means my fair-minded equitable friends are not very happy about putting their head above the parapet and making an alternative statement because they feel they may be then the focus of untoward comments by the group currently running Equity. So they said, Nigel, will you do that? And I said, yes. And when we looked at the comments, whilst they did mention quite forcibly they felt the statements were anti-Semitic, mentioning as they did words like apartheid and genocide, well, overarchingly, when we looked at them all, there was one theme running through them, which individually they may have missed. But collectively, it was absolutely obvious. And that is, what has this issue, this very divisive, heartbreaking issue of the situation in Israel, Palestine and Gaza got to do with Equity and the professional interests of their members? So much so, it became obvious reading the statements that, well, Equity was possibly making itself irrelevant. And indeed, one then has to question, how relevant is dear Nigel? Just think of this. Equity becoming more irrelevant, and Nigel Moi even more so irrelevant. What's all that about? Well, we'll explore that topic in a minute. But firstly, I think we need to share with you the analysis Hilary and I have made of the responses we've received. Well, we received altogether over 30 responses, and of those we've guesstimated, 30% we can't identify as being Equity members. 25% we believe are over the age of 65, 20% over the age of 45, 15% over the age of 30, and 10% under the age of 30. Now, why is that relevant? Well, it's because we've analysed mainly our figures from Twitter. And Twitter, you can see how many people have interacted with a video and then liked it. Now, Equity in this context has had thousands of views of what they've published, but when it comes to the interaction of liking, they are relatively low. And when you compare Nigel, who's only got a few subscribers, and the interaction we've had, you'd say, well, percentage-wise, Nigel is doing better. But here's a little important aspect. Millennials and Generation Z well, they tend to gravitate towards using Instagram. So you can say, oh, look, we've got hundreds of likes. But guess what? Whereas on Twitter, you can't turn off the information of views and likes. On Instagram, you can. So therefore, Generation Z, being driven by the millennials, can all say, look, we're all doing wonderful, aren't we? Yes, but when we come to that and analyse it and put it across other platforms, my fair-minded friends will say, well, hang on, mainstream media ignore us. Look, the Stage has not published anything about this dispute within Equity, about these statements. Well, why not, Nigel? But here's something that maybe others have not considered. The Stage is not an investigative newspaper. It reports issues which are showbiz. So internal disputes within Equity about whether something is anti-Semitic or not, if Equity have put forward a policy, are not really of relevance to the Stage unless the topic put forward by Equity relates to showbiz. So without mentioning a name, if Equity say we are campaigning to save Channel 4, we have a dispute with Spotlight, we are campaigning for 17% stand up for 17% in the West End, or even saving Oldham Coliseum, that's Equity as Equity taking up a showbiz issue. So it's immediately of relevance to the Stage. But a statement about Israel and Gaza, when it's not even promoted by a name, it's just being promoted by Equity, what's that to do with the Stage? It's not going to up their readership. So in fairness to the Stage, it's not their concern, really, unless a celebrity says something. But Equity in this instance, well, are they hiding behind the name of Equity? Because maybe they are concerned that if they were to put their head above the parapet, they may also get some untoward comments that might affect their professional career. So you have to look at it in both sides. And if you disagree, well, again, as I've often said, the buck stops with the council. And Equity members need to take it up with the council. Easier said than done. But when we venture then, whether it's relevant or irrelevant, into international matters, distressing as they are, has Equity consulted with other trade unions? Because you see, Equity have only recently been helping and been comradely interacting with Sag-Aftra over their strike. And a claim to them for doing so. But Sag-Aftra, and we'll put the captions on the screen, will we, Hilary? Sag-Aftra took a completely different view from Equity. Put them at the end of the video, then I don't have to stop, do I? Took a completely different view from Equity. Now, if Sag-Aftra taken a completely different view, will that impact on Equity's relationship on such an emotive, heartbreaking issue with Sag-Aftra? Did they consult them before they published the statement? Because we all want to be united together, equally and fairly, even internationally. And if Equity didn't, in publishing that statement, as it undermined the relationship on behalf of all Equity members with other trade unions. Normally, Equity join in with others when they come to important issues, like that they supported the train strike. But in this particular issue, Equity seem to have gone out on a limb and have done it on their own. They've not joined with anyone else in the trade union movement. So does that mean when it comes to other issues, Equity will start to be irrelevant because on such an important issue, they don't appear to have consulted the other trade unions? And when it comes to that, we mentioned the Stage, Variety magazine in America, one of the biggest variety, publications on the East Coast. I mean, it's got millions of subscribers digitally. they came out with an article that basically trashed Equity for taking the view they did. Were the council aware of that when they published their statement on behalf of all the members? Because if they were, they need to justify why they didn't consider the membership as a whole equally and fairly. Because quite clearly, in the opinion of my fair-minded, equitable friends, those statements were anti-Semitic. A divisive issue, and in promoting a divisive issue, apparently on behalf of the council, who, as we mentioned, have self-affirmed and self-justified their ability to do so on behalf of the whole membership, have they started along a path of making equity irrelevant? Because unless you can unite all the membership, the strength of a trade union starts to deteriorate. Yes, as somebody else said, 47,000 members calling on the UK government to demand a ceasefire in Gaza. Who does anybody think they are? 47,000 members, even if they all campaign for it. Is it going to make any difference? Change government policy is Equity's demand on behalf of even 47,000 members going to change government policy. And there was a quick look at some of the captions that have influenced our comments on this video. Now, I hope everybody supports democracy and the idea that within a trade union, the views of all members should be taken into account equally and fairly, especially if the Equity Council, Equity, intends to publish something on behalf of all the members. And with that in mind, Hillary, have you? Hillary has a joke-a-rooney, presumably, about this topic. What's the joke-a-rooney, Hillary? Down here as usual, is it? What we got? Oh yes, indeed. I see the relevance of this one. What's the similarity between irrelevance and exercise bikes? What's the similarity between irrelevance and exercise bikes? They both get you nowhere. Nowhere? Well, I'll hope you join me again for the next video when I hope we'll all go together somewhere. We'll all go together somewhere. Well, it's worth reminding ourselves that reaching for the stars is one thing, but anyone reaching for the impossible, especially an organisation on its own, is only going to make that organisation more and more irrelevant. So please let's all stick together, because together united we can get somewhere. Thank you.